Welcome to Washington Hospital Today, the program dedicated to sharing timely information about the community hospital that's been taking care of Washington Township Healthcare District residents since it opened in 1958. Washington Hospital Today is provided for the sole purpose of informing residents about healthcare topics and issues that have been covered during community forums, free health and wellness classes, or as part of educational sessions held during the district's open board meetings. This program is one more way that Washington Hospital helps empower you, the residents of the district, by providing information needed to make informed decisions about your health.
Today's presenter is Kimberlee Alvari. Kimberlee Alvari received her undergraduate degree from Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, graduating magna cum laude. Her postgraduate work was done at the University of California, San Francisco, where she was named the Bay Area's most outstanding dietetic student. She currently is pursuing 2 masters, one in food service administration and one in business. Kimberlee's early professional career as a registered dietitian includes positions at the University of California at San Francisco's Medical Center and as a consultant to Home Health Plus. Her years at Washington Hospital began as a clinical dietitian with a focus in critical care. The last 10 years have been spent in management of the clinical staff and most recently as the food service director. Kimberlee is a member of many professional organizations, including the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, American Society of Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition, and the Bay Area's Hospital Leadership Team.
I am Kim Alvari, and I'm the Director of the Food Nutrition Services Department here at Washington Hospital. We have a lot of dynamic things happening here, and this is going to have the opportunity to share with some of the things we have going on here at the hospital in this class with you as well. But I do have helpers, so they're the little elves in the back of the room quickly putting everything together for you. After we get through the PowerPoint, we're inviting you to do a lot of things with produce in the back there. So we will be having you make your own homemade zucchini bread mix for you to take home. If you've ever had a garden, you know what, if you plant squash and zucchini, it's never ending. It doesn't stop. It goes on and on all season long. So we actually are going to let you make a mix so you can put the mix away, and so when some of that zucchini comes out of the garden, you're thinking, what am I going to do with this zucchini? You have a bread mix that you can pull out. So you'll make a bread mix to take home today. You'll also then be making today, we have fresh peaches. Alfredo Macias is one of our chefs here at the hospital. Give a wave there, Alfredo. Okay, so now Alfredo here, what did you bring from your garden today, Alfredo? Okay, so the peaches you're using today are out of Alfredo's garden, okay? I have some of them because I'm going to make them into jam, but he brought them today, and those are the peaches you're going to be using. So these are garden fresh peaches, straight off his tree. So you'll be also making a fresh, healthy peach crisp that you get to take home. So we have little plates for you, and we have a healthy recipe. We took a recipe for a peach crisp, and then we modified it and everything to make it healthier for you. It has a source of soluble fiber in it, and we can talk a little bit more as you start to put that together. But each of you will be able to make your own peach crisp in one of the small little pie plates that we have and take that home. If you're not up for eating it today or tonight, the beauty of it is that these kinds of things can be made. You can go ahead and make it, and then you can wrap it in foil, and you can freeze it, and during the middle of winter you can have something from your garden. So, and it'll last for good 3 months in the freezer, so it's perfect. So if you're not up for eating that today, you can take that and put that in the freezer. Then what we introduce to you is we'll talk more as we get through the PowerPoint and finish, but we brought a rustic type of sandwich. And I don't know if some of you saw in the Tri-City Voice, we had a recipe in there. This is the sandwich that we have for that. So it has a lot of the types of vegetables, produce that you would get right out of your garden, and you're thinking, what am I going to do with that? So we made a sandwich for you today, so you can try that. We also then have a salad that we made. Most of the stuff are things, cucumbers, tomatoes, things that you're trying to figure out what to do out of your garden. Again, you'll be able to go over and try that and pick up the recipes there. We've augmented it a little bit because there's also the edamame, which is the soybean that's in that salad. So it's actually a complete meal. You can make this salad right from your garden, just add a little bit of soybeans, and it actually could be a meal in itself because the soybeans is such a rich source of quality protein. So we'll have that for you to try as well. So, oh, perfect timing. So I'll get right into this is the hard part of it. We're going to talk just a little bit about the produce, and then we get to all the fun stuff. Okay. All right, so I've introduced everybody, Lori, and then of course I'm the one at the end. So what's the benefits of a garden and garden produce? Okay, so I know some of you said you had it, and I said I missed mine, but there's a decreased cost. Of course, there's a cost that doesn't have to happen because you're not paying a middleman. Not to mention, it's really easy on the commute when you just walk to your backyard and pick up your produce. And I'll mention here at the hospital, we actually have our own garden as well. We have our own urban gardens. They're out right off in front of the BART there, the BART parking lot in the back end of the hospital, and the heliport that's back there. We have our own garden beds, and so we subsidize the fresh produce and things we buy here right out of our own garden. And we've been getting most of the summer zucchini. We've had some tomatoes and stuff, and so we walk right back to our garden as well. So you can decrease the cost by not having the middleman. You get to decide what you put on it. If you're going to put an insecticide, an herbicide on those, or a fertilizer on those produce. Can't really do that when you go to the store. You can see if it's organic, you can see if it's local or if it's seasonal, but you really do get to control the process in your own garden. You can do that pretty much at the farmer's market as well. They have a lot of organics and things out there, so you can go and ask them about what they're using. That's kind of hard to do. I mean, you can look when you go to the major chain grocery stores and see if it's organic or try to see if it's seasonal, but there's nothing better than talking to the farmer that made that, that grew that produce for you, to ask him how it was grown. So you can get away from the chemicals. And what do the chemicals do when you get away from some of those? They did a little taste panel with people at the Mayo Clinic, and they asked them, hey, put produce out, which one tastes better? Guess what? They picked the ones that didn't have the chemicals on them. There's no additives to get in the way of the flavor you're supposed to be tasting. And it also allows produce. When you have it in your backyard, you don't pick it before you want it. You don't pick it until it's ready to go, right? You don't go out there and say, well, it looks like the tomatoes are going to be ready in 3 days. I'm going to pick them. You let them stay on the vine right until the end, okay? That really helps the flavor. When you have to move produce across the country and get it to the big grocery stores, it has to be picked sometimes up to a week in advance. Sometimes that produce is picked, and then when it gets to wherever it's going, it has to be kind of flashed with a type of gas to try to further along the ripening that didn't happen. So it really helps the taste when you leave it on the plant until it's really ripe and ready to eat. You also have greater amounts of the essential trace minerals that are available in the produce. When you let it stay on the vine as long as it can, you're letting all that nutrition as much as it can get into that fruits. Get the best out of your nutrition when you leave it on the vine. And you're going to leave smaller footsteps. Okay, and what do I mean by that? The carbon footprint's a lot smaller when you don't bring your tomatoes from New York, or your tomatoes are not coming from Chile or Peru. When they're coming from a garden close to you, much smaller carbon footprint. So we do that here at the hospital too. This organization, one of the Washington Hospital is one of 5 hospitals in Northern California that participates in a produce project. And what that means is we're a group of hospitals that got together and we said, we like farming, we like local farming, we'll farm in our backyard, and we'll also farm with farmers who want to plant just what I say I need. Okay, so some of the stuff I needed this summer is I needed some really good organic strawberries. I wanted organic strawberries because the strawberries are on the dirty 12. What are the dirty 12? I'll tell you, the top dirty 12 on there, it changes around a little bit, but it's those that have the highest pesticide load on them. Okay, and that's a strawberry. So here at the hospital we think, we don't want to give as many pesticides. We don't want to have those types of strawberries, so we get organics. Now how can I get some organic strawberries that are local, that aren't going to come a long way, cost a lot of money, taste great for our patients, make them healthy? How can I do that? Well, I can go directly to a farmer and deal with them. And it's hard to do it by ourselves, but when I go with 5 other hospitals and we talk to those farmers and say, can you plant so many acres of strawberries for Washington? I'm going to need X amount this whole summer. They'll plant for me, okay? So we have our strawberries coming out of Koch Farms, locally here. They're all within a 100-mile radius. We also have asparagus. We had asparagus from Dwelly Farms. We have green beans from Dwelly Farms. We just go and tell the farmers what we want to plant here. Because our garden isn't big enough in the back, we just figured it out. But we're very fortunate to be one of 5 hospitals in Northern California that are in this project buying group, to be able to go out and do that with our farmers, and that these local farmers will actually work with us. That does leave a lot smaller footprint when the food doesn't have to come miles and miles and miles to get to where it needs to be consumed. So we like that here at Washington. Okay, so 10 top reasons to eat more. Not that you haven't thought about this, why you should eat more fruits and vegetables, but they're fun to eat. Some of them are squishy when you eat them, some of them are soft, some of them you bite into are crisp. There isn't more fun than some of your food when you're eating a piece of fruit or produce. It's a really quick snack. It's really easy. I mean, you could literally grab a peach off a tree, a plum off a tree, rinse it off real quick and take it and eat it. There's not a lot of prep when you're talking about produce. The variety is endless. When you talk about seasonal produce living here in California, all the colors of the rainbow are represented. There's so many different types of produce. So the variety is endless. You're not going to get bored if you're eating through the rainbow with your fruits and vegetables. Vitamins and minerals, great source of that. They are a very nutrient-dense food, and what I mean by that is that you get a lot of bang for your buck. Okay, you get a low-calorie type of food, and you get a lot of nutrition in that food, in that little piece of food. Huge benefits, and we'll talk about phytochemicals and how that works. Going to reduce disease risk. Who doesn't want to have a healthy life? Lower in calories, just talked about that. They're nutrient-dense foods. They're also a source of fiber. So most Americans don't get enough fiber. So great source of all types of fiber. Soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, both are important for your health. Convenient, we kind of talked about that a little bit. Easy to grab. A rich source of phytochemicals, and I'll talk to you and just have a quick side on phytochemicals. That's the new buzzword, maybe in the last 5 to 10 years in nutrition, is phytochemicals. What are those things? And they're really inexpensive. When you eat local and you eat in season, you can't beat the prices that you can get on produce. There's no way it even compares to, even if you buy organics local and in season, they will be less expensive than the meats and the money that you put out for your meat products and proteins and stuff like that. So they're inexpensive. They're a bargain. Okay, how much is enough? Real quick, how much is enough? 4 to 13 servings a day, or 2 to 6.5 cups of produce. So if you don't have a garden, you might want to grow a garden. That's 6 cups of produce. It'd be easy to go out and grab it out of your garden, or a tub of tomatoes. Most adults need 7 to 13 servings. And I put up here my myplate.gov. That's the guidelines put out by the USDA for Americans. And you can see, I don't even have to say anything when you look at this. If you look at half the plate, the fruits and vegetables, the produce is taking up half the plate. Okay, and this is a 9-inch plate, so you can see how important fruits and vegetables are. Okay, so here's the key nutrients, and I won't bore you. There won't be a test at the end, so you have to memorize what all these do, but you can see that there's a lot of important things in here. There's calcium. There's a lot of great sources in plant foods, not just dairy products, in terms of being great sources of calcium. And actually the bioavailability, the ability for your body to use them from those plant sources, is not that bad. So it's something to consider when most of us need more calcium. Most Americans don't have enough calcium in their diet. Fiber and folate, okay, we talked about the fiber, insoluble, soluble, both very important. Cardiovascular health and whatnot. Folate, important vitamin in terms of cardiovascular health. People who have adequate folate in their body have lower homocysteine levels. Lower homocysteine levels mean that you have decreased your cardiac risk. So you want to have plenty of folate. Folate's also used to make your red blood cells, just like iron. So you need a lot of folate to be making all those blood cells that are turning over every 120 days. Okay, so we also have magnesium. We need healthy bones. We know that. You're going to need your calcium with your magnesium. You need potassium. A lot of research has been done on blood pressure. Adequate potassium intake means you're going to have a better blood pressure. Vitamin A, we know healthy eyes. Helps protect against infections, and then vitamin C, a lot of healing in terms of repair that goes on when you have enough vitamin C. So those are all the most important nutrients. Phytochemicals, what are phytochemicals? They're plant chemicals. They're non-nutritive in nature. That means they're not like protein or carbohydrates that give you energy or give you some type of nutrition that provides calories. They have a non-nutritive background. They're not going to give you any of that. But what they're going to do is they're going to have a ton of benefits. They actually think there's over 4,000 different phytochemicals in the foods, and that's why we encourage people to eat lots of colors, because you start to look at these lists, and these are the top 6 phytochemicals with over 4,000 of them in the foods that you eat. There's nothing you could eat, take a pill, or do to replace produce in your diet when you're talking about there's up to 4,000 different phytochemicals. You really have to go to your diet first. And these are the top 6, but you can see that they're basically kind of circle around colors. When you look at beta carotene, we're looking at things that are green and orange in color. That's where that beta carotene is going to come from. You're looking at the lycopene, those are the red things, your tomatoes and things like that. Help cancer, more primarily like prostate cancer for men when you talk about tomatoes. Lutein, greens, again, dark green things, spinach, broccoli. The resveratrol, that's the red wine. That's where red wine comes in. Red wine's been popular for a long time because of the resveratrol. And you can actually just get the same thing from some grapes, some red grapes. So might want to consider red grapes instead of the red wine. The anthocyanidins, those are all of the ones that are healthy for blood vessel health. They help the lining of the epithelial in your body, helps with people avoiding strokes and heart disease. So you want to make sure that. And most Americans don't eat those blue, black, and red things and purple things enough. So you want to work those in as well. And then the isoflavones, those are at the very bottom. Those have been shown to help breast cancer. There's issues around breast cancer in there. Bone health, of course, and it lowers your cholesterol. These type of plant chemicals actually can lower your cholesterol when you're having the isoflavones, and those are coming from soybeans. And that's why you're going to taste a salad today that has edamame in it, because we're going to give you some of those isoflavones today to try. And like I mentioned to you, those soybeans are also very high quality protein, right up there with any type of meat protein that you can have. So you're going to get a lot of phytochemicals from them, but you're also going to get a quality protein. You don't really have to have meat. That could be a diet or a full meal in itself. Anybody know why cucumbers, pickles, tomatoes, and avocados are really a fruit versus a vegetable? Did you know that? Right, you're right. It's the seeds. So, botanically, all of these are fruits, though we treat them when we cook with them like a vegetable. We put them alongside of the meats, we put them into soups. We treat them like a vegetable, but they're actually botanically a fruit because of the seed, or even in the avocado, the one seed that's in there. And it's legal. It's not just because it's some botanical scientific thing that was done. In 1883, this went to the Supreme Court, and it was decided that these would be considered botanically fruits. So it's not just something, a little rare known fact. It actually was a legal case brought before the Supreme Court in 1883. So that settled that, okay? Does anybody have any questions? I would just recommend now, if you've got gardens or interested in anything in terms of gardening or how to do your gardening, there's a lot of great websites on gardening and things that you can do. I know that there's a lot of things I know for just for example, for if you have problems with snails or anything in your garden, I know you don't have to put fertilizer or anything on it. You can just take eggshells, crush them up, put them on the perimeter of your garden, and the eggshells will actually stop those types of snails and things crawling on into your produce and things like that. But I don't claim to be an expert in gardening. I'm very much a novice in that area. I just love to pick what goes out there, and I do what works each year. So, but I do like I'm somewhat of an expert on nutrition. So hopefully everybody can enjoy a plethora of produce all season long. If I haven't convinced you that you should be growing your own garden, at least you can get out to the farmer's market. We have that. And the other thing I'm going to add, I have a handout here for you as well, and it's tips on freezing and blanching your produce, because you can make your produce last all season long. And we talked about, you got a bunch of green beans or you got zucchini and stuff coming out. You blanch it, stop the enzyme work that's going on in that produce, and put it in your freezer. It's going to taste just like you pulled it out of the garden. So I gave you tips on blanching. When you blanch, you can't over blanch, you can't under blanch, or you create a problem with your produce. So there's little tips and guides on here why you blanch. how you do it, what's the time on the different things. So I encourage you, if you have zucchini that you don't know what to do with, and they're not just little, are they, too? By the time you go and find them, they're like enough to feed like an army. I'm like, I just was out here yesterday and it was not that big. So anyway, blanch it. Cut it up and blanch it and use it in soups or something throughout the season. So we'll have handouts on how to properly blanch and make your garden last all season long. You could make this salad right from your garden, just add a little bit of soybeans, and it actually could be a meal in itself because the soybeans is such a rich source of quality proteins. And the nice thing about this salad is that you don't have to follow it exactly. You can just look at portions of things, and whatever you have coming out of your garden, you can go ahead and just put in. So this is the sandwich that was featured in the Tri-City Voice. It has a lot of the grilled vegetables on it. So, and with all the color in here, you know that it's loaded with phytochemicals. And this sandwich here has very little added fat on it. So the flavors and everything that you have there is just from the grilled vegetables and the produce that's on the sandwich. So. Have a healthy recipe. We took a recipe for a peach crisp and then we modified it and everything to make it healthier for you. It has a source of soluble fiber in it. Inside this, I can't help but tell you that this is a whole grain. Most people don't have enough whole grains in the diet. Oatmeal is considered a whole grain. It's a source of soluble fiber, which is the type of fiber that you eat to lower your cholesterol. Okay? And we, like I said, we modified this recipe. We took a lot of extra sugar out. We've taken the extra fat out, and I think you're going to find it's just as enjoyable, that you can have healthy, good tasting things that aren't that bad for you.